What's going on? What's going on, good people? Thank you for joining us for another episode of Build Your Fort. I am your host, Lentheus Chaney, and I've got a dynamic person that's joining us today. She is Miss Ivory Shields. She's a holistic healer, a therapist, and actress who happens to play on season 6 of Queen Sugar, Dr. Jordina Stetson. And we're going to talk a little bit about where she comes from, where she's going, and how she made that pivot from being an actress and a therapist to now being a holistic healer. Ivory, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Ashay, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
You know what? You are welcome anytime. I have a feeling we're going to be talking to each other a lot more in the near future. And
Yes.
so Ivory also has a podcast. Ivory, you want to tell us a little bit about the name of your podcast and what it's about?
Yes, definitely. The name of my podcast is Soulaudacity. It was formerly called Healing for the Culture. So we pivoted and we renamed it. We're doing a whole rebranding that's going to be gearing back up in January. But yeah, the name of the podcast is Soulaudacity. That's also my YouTube channel's name, Soulaudacity. So please, please, please check us out.
Okay. And is that the name of your company as well, Soulaudacity?
Yes, Soulaudacity, Soulaudacity. And it's one word. So
Okay.
it's not broken up. I just added the two words, and it's just the audacity to follow or to go after and to complete your soul's mission.
That is beautiful. I know it took quite a journey to get there, and the fact that you've done multiple pivots to get to where you are. I see a little bit of a glow, so it must be working.
Well, thank you. Yeah, my background is actually occupational therapy. So I began actually the therapy began before the acting, and how the acting came into the picture. I I remember working in the hospital, my very first therapy job. And I tell you, e- every single day, someone would tell me, you should be on TV. You should be on TV. You should be on TV. I would hear this every day. And at the time, this was back in 2006, 2007. I'm like, no, I do not. I'm not going to be on TV. No, thank you. I mean, I was terrified of speaking on camera. I had been doing some modeling at that point in my life when I was younger, 19 or whatever. But never any acting. I was terrified of speaking on camera. So I decided to give it a shot, because I'm like, okay, if so many people keep putting this in front of me and keep mentioning this, I do, believe that there's value in synchronicity and constantly hearing messages. So I decided to take my first acting class and crashed and burned. And I took a step back, because at the time I was engaged, I was married, my marriage was going to hell, and so I decided to try to focus on my marriage. So I put the acting aside. And after my divorce, decided to gear back up and get back into it, and took another acting class, and that's when I fell in love with it.
Okay.
And so that's how the acting came about.
So the occupational therapy is something you've done as a profession. Did you go to school for that? Is that something that you just kind of picked up along the way, or is this what you studied to be?
Yeah, this is what I studied to be. I graduated from the University of Alabama in Birmingham with a master's degree in occupational therapy in 2007. 2007. Yes. So I've been a practicing therapist since then. And how I ended up pivoting in more into the holistic healing space and the mindset coaching and speaking, I like to say I'm a healer. I really just like to refer to myself as a healer. And healers wear many different hats. You cannot put a healer in a box, because you have to meet people where they are. So the speaking, the acting, the mindset coaching, the holistic healing, all of that is underneath that healing umbrella. And how I really pivoted into the holistic healing and speaking space is after working as a therapist for 14 years and working in hospitals with so many different people, what I found a common thread was that a lot of these people who were showing up with all these illnesses and manifestations, physical manifestations in their bodies, was a direct result of trauma,
Mm,
trauma that they had never really dealt with. And as you know, or for those who don't know, trauma is just it's not what happens to us, it is what takes place physiologically. It's a physiological response in our bodies as a result of not being able to respond authentically
mm,
to a stressful situation, to a fight or flight stimuli that's presented to you. And as a result, all of the pain, the anger, the sadness sits in your body, and it travels through your body and it finds somewhere to crystallize. And so that's what happens when we end up with these diseases and illnesses in our bodies.
I'm not think I know, I am a firm believer in that. I did uh, take some time away from work and away from just everyday life. And I went on what I called a mentation. And I learned a lot about trauma release, float therapy, brain
Mm.
training. I did a lot of those therapies. And when I came back to Atlanta after that, I felt like a brand new person. But what I have found since then is that this is something that's a continual work, because that stuff piles right back on you again, and then you find yourself again in the fight or flight
True.
situation. So you have to really work to continue to release those things and deal with that
Mhm.
trauma. So as a person who is a holistic healer and you help people with their issues with trauma and getting through that, what are some practices that the everyday person can do to kind of help themselves until they can get to see someone professionally?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm a huge advocate for meditation and mindfulness. So learning just how to be mindful, be aware. And I think a lot of people get a little intimidated by meditation because they think, "Oh, I don't think I'm doing it right." And oh, you have to sit and you have to be quiet and you can't think. And oh my God, my thoughts keep coming. And, meditation is definitely a skill that has to be developed. So the more that you do it, the more that you practice it, you will get better and better at it. So the goal initially is not to stop your thoughts. The goal initially is to observe your thoughts, is just to be aware of what you are thinking. And just that first step of being aware of what you are thinking can be the catalyst for you to begin to shift your thoughts or to begin to develop the skill of paying attention to the thoughts that you want to see expand and magnify in your reality, in your existence, and taking less attention away from those thoughts that may not serve you.
Mm,
So that's really the goal of meditation. And you have to be able to start somewhere. And I think the best way to start is just being mindful. Start with practicing mindfulness. And that is, as I said before, simply just being aware of what you're thinking. The other thing is doing a lot of grounding work. So, whether that is being in nature, whether that is being in some water, whether that is taking spiritual baths, or not even, I don't want to attach the word spiritual to it, but just taking a bath and just relaxing in the water and being present in the water and feeling the water and all of its properties, just sitting there and describing the water.
mm,
It's flowy, it's fluid, it's warm, it's cool. So just being present enough to engage all of your senses, just being still, and then naming what you hear, what you smell, what you see, what you feel. That is a grounding exercise. And it is a great way to bring ourselves back to our bodies, because a lot of times with trauma, you disengage the part of your brain that keeps you in the present moment.
mm,
When you're in that fight or flight state of mind, your logical brain, it disengages. So being present, doing activities that keep your body present, re-engages that part of your brain that thinks logically.
Now that makes a lot of sense to me. I will say that my favorite part of that type of therapy was float therapy. Now, once I got over my fear of being in the dark, which I'm not afraid of the dark, but there's something about being in darkness and being in water at the same time. Your
Mhm.
mind goes all kinds of different places. But I found it after doing it for 4 days in a row, I would do float therapy, that it was probably one of my favorite things to do because I left there with a clear mind. And I never knew that the water aspect of it was a aspect of grounding. I've always thought that grounding meant going out, being in nature, taking my shoes off, walking in the grass, standing in the middle of my yard. That kind of stuff is what I consider grounding. And I
Right.
know there's a whole lot of scientific thought behind that process and how your body reacts to the earth. But anybody out there, if you're not feeling very well and you just need a break, go outside, take your
Oh,
shoes off,
right.
stand in the middle of your yard. You don't have to do float therapy. You can do this at home. And if
Mhm.
you live in an apartment, I'm quite sure they've got some green space somewhere where you can just lay and be one with the earth because you will
Yes.
feel 100% better. So,
100% better. And even just doing it in the middle of your room with
mm,
your light, that's if you can't go outside, just lying in the middle of your floor with your lights off and just
mm,
surrendering to your body, surrendering to the present moment. No electronic devices, none of that. Just surrendering to the present moment is a way to ground yourself. And I want to add one more thing: solutions and practical, tangible solutions, support groups.
mm.
Support groups, support groups. That is the number one way to manage and massage trauma wounds, connecting with people who have shared experiences and being able to talk through those experiences and being able to um, having a safe space to be able to feel whatever it is your body wants to feel and respond authentically to those feelings that you're having in your body is is extremely effective.
Let me ask this. You know, many of the ways we move through life and get into the things that we do come from our own personal experiences, and our healing many times helps us heal others. Were you in a situation, you don't have, you can be as personal or not as you want to, but were you in a situation where you felt that your trauma needed to be dealt with? What did you go through that took you from there to where you are now to being able to help people as well?
Definitely. Yeah. And I always like to use I heard this quote a while ago, and I think it resonates. The world does not care about your trauma
Mm,
because everyone has experienced some form of trauma. And I think that most healers, most therapists have experienced their own set of traumas. And yes, I have had my own fair share of childhood trauma, from sexual trauma to emotional neglect from an emotionally unintelligent parent, abandonment by my father, and being bullied because I was an overweight child.
mm,
So I definitely had my own trauma and wounds that I had to massage and manage and learn how to process. And acting was really I think the first catalyst for me in going on that journey of healing from trauma and beginning with this self-awareness and self-discovery process. And I'll share with you how that came about. When I was in my first, in my first acting classes, I'm standing up in front of the class and I'm with my scene partner, and my instructor is asking me, so Ivory, what are you feeling? What are you feeling when my scene partner says this to me? Like, and I'm thinking, I don't know. Because it's like when you experience so much trauma, you shut down your feelings,
mm,
because feelings mean uh pain and sadness and fear. But if to shut your feelings down, that's how you survive, and that's a form of compensation. And so I had to really tap back into my feelings. And it was in that moment in that acting class that I realized, oh shit, I got to deal with myself because I'm not having the full experience of life because I'm shutting down all of my feelings.
I totally get that. And what I found also is when you start healing and you're letting go of some of the codependencies that you had to deal with that before, those people who you were codependent upon and who were codependent upon you seem to kind of get upset and they eventually
Yeah.
fall away because you're not the same person that you were before you began your healing therapy and your healing journey. Thank you for being so transparent and sharing with us with that. I understand that you've got a workbook and book that's coming up soon. Can you tell us a little bit about that and when can we expect that?
Yeah, so it will be a workbook. And in the workbook, I just go through, and it's a how to guide, how to use all of the different modalities that I have used for myself along my healing journey. Because what I found is with coaching, a lot of people want to go at their own pace. And this allows people to do that. Because people are busy. So this allows you to take the workbook and try the different modalities. When I say modalities, the different healing methods. You can do them at your own pace and you can implement them into your own schedule. You don't have to, rely on my schedule and when I'm available. So the workbook really allows an individual to go and study at their own pace. And I really, with this healing journey, a coach is so necessary. So in the workbook, I really do outline what you can expect during doing each activity and during this process because I think what happens or not I think I know what happens is a lot of people when you go through a healing journey, you feel worse before you start to feel better.
Mhm.
And so knowing to expect that keeps you encouraged because a lot of times people will get discouraged because you think that it's not working. You think that the work that you're doing, it's like, wait a minute, I'm feeling worse. I'm not feeling better. But I explain in the workbook that this is par for the course. This is a part of the process. It's just like, when a diamond is going through its whole process to be this brilliant and shiny thing at the end, but it has to go through that fire process first, has to go through that breakdown, and then we build up from there. So that's outlined and detailed very nicely in the workbook. So, and then the book is coming out. The book is going to be about my journey and my experiences. And it's also going to include some of those same practices that I used for my own healing journey. But it is just going to really be a book about my life and just applying those same those same tools. So it'll be more narrative, I guess, for that book. Yeah.
And what's the name of the book?
Don't have a title yet. I had a title and I changed it.
Okay, okay, nothing wrong with that. Look, I've been working on a book for over a year. I got a
Yeah,
title, but I don't have a book.
my God.
I've got a
And that's
cover and everything, and I just have not finished it yet. And I'll tell you why, to be 100% transparent myself, a lot of my traumas are in this book. And I
mhm,
don't know if I'm ready
sure.
to share with the world my promise.
Yeah.
But I do believe one thing I do know for sure is that there'll be somebody out there who will benefit from hearing the story. So, same thing to you. I know that your book, whatever you decide to name it, is going to help a lot of people. And where can they go right now to engage with you, to learn more about you, to actually maybe work with you? Where can people find you?
Yes, please go to soulaudacity.com and you can always find me on my Instagram. I'm very active on there at I am Ivory Shields. IVORYSHIELDS.
Can we expect to see your face on Queen Sugar anymore this season?
I fingers crossed. I think season 6 is I think they're coming to an end with season 6, but definitely if you have not checked out the last season, season 6 of Queen Sugar, please check it out. I do play Dr. Jordana Stetson on there. I am Micah's love interest, so I am a cougar. Sure, have all the cougars out there. But very fun role, and that's it for now. I don't have anything else lined up. Well, no, I have a movie, an independent film that I just finished up. I have a small scene in that. It's called Scheme Queen, and that's going to be starring B. Simone, Country Wayne, Bree, Ernestine Morrison, several other very popular Instagram influencers in the film. It's going to be a super fun film. It's a funny set it off.
Yeah,
It's a
with those
set it off.
names that you just mentioned, I know it's going to be hilarious.
It is going to be a lot of fun. So make sure y'all are on the lookout for that.
Great. Well, I want to thank you again for taking the time from your busy schedule because this woman has a lot of jobs, y'all. She
Yes.
does a lot, she's doing a lot, and I'm so very proud of everything that you're accomplishing. Thank you for coming and spending some time with me and my audience. What last words do you have for us before we end this session?
Oh, goodness. Two things. Number one, self-awareness is the best gift that you can give yourself and people around you. And surround yourself with people whose eyes light up when they see you coming.
I love that. I, I'm going to check my spouse, make sure those eyes are lighting up.
Yeah.
So-
Check.
I know, right? So thank you again, and you have an amazing day, and good luck on these projects, and good luck with the book. We'll be on the lookout. Please let us know when it comes out.
Yeah, Shay, I will. Thank you so much for having me, Lentheus.
Anytime.
All right. Peace, everybody.
You work hard all year long, so why not get more for your money at Experamax Midtown Atlanta? Looking for a MacBook Pro, iMac, or iPad? Don't pay full retail prices at the Apple Store when you can get the same quality products without the premium price. Experamax in Midtown Atlanta is your Apple headquarters, with everything from Apple desktops to laptops, watches, accessories, and more. Get the peace of mind you deserve and buy with confidence, knowing that all of Experamax certified pre-owned products are put through rigorous testing to make sure they deliver the reliability and dependability you demand. Experamax Midtown Atlanta makes it easy and affordable. Plus, you can trade in your old devices and get an offer right on the spot. So shop smarter and save money only at Experamax Midtown Atlanta.